私が赤き真実で保証します。
It was the one guarantee that all those who try to use reasoning desire.
その答えが我が父の実戒にのっとり導き出せるものかは分かりません。しかしバトラが悩み苦しみ推理の指針を求める時にもしも思い出したなら、我が実戒も試してみてください。再び挑む勇気と、ひょっとすると何か新しい発見を与えてくれるかもしれません。
ありがとうよ。心底行き詰まったらお前の戦い方も参考にしてみるぜ。いいのかよ、敵に塩を送っちまって。
お気になされずに手土産も持たずに訪れた誓いです。茶花の代わりとなったなら幸いです。それに私と再び相まみえたなら、そんな悠長なことを言っている暇はおそらくないでしょうから。
Nox's Decalogue, Vigilia's Red Truth.
ベアと俺に解いてほしいと願って解けるようにこのゲームの謎を生み出した。
In other words, Beato wants me to be capable of solving it. Isn't that proof that reasoning is possible? Of course, that's from Beato's point of view, and it doesn't necessarily mean that reasoning is possible for me. Compared to before now, when I didn't even know whether the reasoning was possible or not, that one line might give me a great deal of courage. At least it has the power to silence any negative thoughts about this all being useless.
推理できると先に相手に証明させなくては推理をしない。まるで奥手な若者の恋愛のようですね。
恋愛？
ええ、自分のことを愛してくれると相手が先に証明しない限り、自分も相手を愛したくないでしょ。
Both boys and girls want to hear someone else say they love them first. That's their dream. If they're in love, they don't want to love the other person until they're sure this person loves them back. After all, there's nothing as painful as one-sided love, and the scars of the heart left behind last a long time. Because they are afraid of that pain. They want proof that the other person loves them first more than anything else.
なるほど。推理小説における作家と読者の関係を面白く表現しています。
Yeah, maybe you could liken detective novels to that. Both the writer and the reader first want the other party to say they'll solve it, or that it can be solved. Until the writer is assured that the reader will certainly have a go at the riddle if they propose it, they don't want to write their story. Same goes for the readers. Until they are assured that they will certainly be able to solve a riddle if they try, they don't want to read the story. Because they don't want to write what they consider a masterpiece and be hurt when no one reads it. Because they don't want to reason about what they consider a masterpiece and be hurt when they realize it was all useless.
その理論によると、まさに奥手な小学生中学生の恋愛だな。気があるくせに打ち明ける勇気もなく、相手の告白を待ってもじもじしたまま何の進展もなく、ひと夏が終わる。いやいや、他の男とくっついちまうことだってあるぜ。俺の初恋もそんな感じだったさ。
Along with these one-sided feelings they can't express, they lament the passage of the summer that will never come again, and the days of their youth end. The writer who wouldn't write until he gained the support of readers goes for all eternity without releasing his maiden work. The reader who waited for the writer's rise to fame goes their whole life without knowing the joy of a mystery genre.
バトラ君、その 卵が先か鶏が先かという奥手な恋愛はどの段階にまで進んだら相思相愛の関係になるのですか？
それは積み重ねだろうな。まず友達関係から始めてコミュニケーションを増やし、こいつはきっと俺のことが好きで俺もこいつのことが好きだと疑えなくなった段階を2人が共有できたところで、まあ多分自然と恋人関係に進めるんじゃないかと。唐突な告白で始まった関係は割と別れることも多いが、実は互いに告白したことがなく気づいたらずっと一緒にいたって連中の方が案外付き合いは長いってのが俺の今日までの印象だ。
つまり互いが相手を信じる信頼関係が生まれたらということですね。
かもな。意外だぜ。ミステリーってのは作家と読者のバトルだと思ってたんだが、実は
互いが信頼し合った上でしか成立しない愛ある関係なのですよ。
じゃあこいつと俺の関係も
Where is this going?
殺し合いじゃなくて愛ある関係だっていうのかよ。
意地悪をし合う小学生同士の関係程度にしか見えませんがね。
Vigilia joked at us in a middle-aged woman sort of way. Still, though I'm not expecting friendship or a trusting relationship, I can accept her as a rival. Berto is fighting at full force, trying to make me acknowledge that she's a witch. So I'll respond to that and go all out, trying to deny that witches exist.
ミス・ベアトが正面から全力であなたにぶつかっているとどうしてあなたは言い切れるのですか？
見てりゃわかるだろ。
あなたに全力で正面からぶつかっていると彼女が赤き真実で宣言したわけではありません。なのにあなたはそれを疑わないわけですか？
I have plenty of doubts.
赤き真実以外は何も信じないとおっしゃったあなたがです。
バトラ君の言うところのコミュニケーションが増え、互いの関係が疑えなくなった段階
I can see where this is going.
というものに違いないですね。
Vigilia and Delano giggled together. One guy, multiple women. And the topic is love. Wait a sec. Isn't this the worst possible formation for getting made fun of? I mean, aren't there 3 of them? When I tried to bring back a proper mood for a tea party in the rainy Golden Land, by clumsily searching for a more noble subject, Vigilia saw right through me and laughed. Even amidst this, Berta kept looking downwards with those grey eyes, staring into her black tea. Recollection over? Maybe? Yeah, that's right. Vigilia and Delano have given me so many hints. And yes, I barely thought about it at all. By now it's all too late. Let me think. Now that everything is too late already and I've got an endless amount of time on my hands, let me think. One more time, let me think about the red truth Vigilia gave me, the crutch of a decalogue that Delano lent me. With the red truth, Vigilia guaranteed that at the very least, Berta left enough room in this tale for me to achieve victory. That red truth guarantee will once again give me the power to start my heart beating. And there's a crutch of a Decalogue, which Delano lent me. Delano herself warned me in the beginning that the Decalogue isn't so almighty that it can solve all riddles. However, she said something about how it could be used as a method to solve, no, to take on riddles. Let me try it. There is no guarantee that this tale is mystery or fantasy. Let me believe that I'll definitely be able to solve it. That it is a solvable tale, a mystery, and let me take it on one last time. When I came to, I was suddenly in that strange tea room where I'd often argued furiously with Beato from across the table, that table. Of course, Beato was nowhere to be found. It was just me, isolated and alone. That's okay. Even so, I won't stop thinking. Okay then. What were Nox's commandments again? I'm sure Delano explained most of them when slamming me with them. Of course, even I recall them vaguely. What was the first one again?
謹んで申し上げる。ノックス第一条。犯人は物語当初の登場人物以外を禁ず。
And I muttered about what the first one was. As if answering my question, Delano's subordinate appeared. Without bothering with an unnecessary hello, she told me nothing more or less than what I wanted to know.
そうだったな。第一条。犯人は物語の最初から登場している人物でなければならない。
In other words, the culprit must have already appeared. As early as the first game? Probably. Well, unless it has been changing each game, but anyway. True, that's the most basic of basics in the mystery genre. A classic assumption. A classic assumption? Have I really been keeping to that assumption? With each new game, the number of people in this tale keeps increasing. That violates the closed circle rule. At that point, everything gets screwed up. Did I give up on the inside, thinking that the true culprit or mastermind must not have shown up yet, and that reasoning was therefore useless? I read this tale as a fantasy. New characters keep showing up, to the point where even having demon kings or gods or creators appear wouldn't be strange at all. Even if a true mastermind first appears in one of the last episodes, I'd have to accept it. However, if I read it as a mystery and stick with that conviction, then there's no need to worry at all about anyone who shows up later. Because Nox's verse clearly states that it's impossible for the culprit to be anyone who appears later on in the story. I will say, there is potential for new humans to be added to the plot in the later episodes, but I don't think new demons would be able to do it, because that's already covered by Beatrice doing it. Did I read that last line? Of course, this also what both Delano and Virgilia say. There's no guarantee that this tale follows the rules of the Decalogue. So of course I can't deny the possibility that the culprit first appeared in the second game, or later. However, this is one way of thinking. This time, I'll forget about the Devil's Proof completely, and try to borrow the power of the Decalogue in my thinking. After all, I've already said myself that I won't be able to reach the truth without a multi-angled outlook.
なら、何度も繰り返されたこのゲームの犯人は全て18人の中の誰かだってことになる。19人目の幻想なんて初めから必要ない。
Even the first of Nox's commandments denies the existence of an unknown person known as the Witch from the very start. Must be someone mentioned in the early part, not anyone whose thoughts the reader have been allowed to follow. Which was mentioned very early on. If I had followed that in the truest sense, I might not have suffered so miserably in the second game.
ノックスの第2条は
And I guess the other
謹んで申し上げ立てまつる。ノックス第2条、探偵方法に超自然能力の使用を禁ず。
Delano's other subordinate appeared without a sound and gave me an answer to my question. That's right. The detective can't go around using magic.
そしてこれがフェアな戦いであるならば、探偵と同様に犯人もまた魔法を使ってはならないということだよな。
謹んで申し上げる。解釈は自由と知りたまえ。
だよな。ああ、俺の自由に解釈させてもらうぜ。
If this game is a battle between me and Berto, then because this tale is solvable, no elements will appear that make it impossible to solve. Indeed. In other words, things like magic mustn't appear. When they do appear, I shouldn't suspect that the mystery element is breaking down, but I should instead question why it was shown and suspect witnesses and observers. That's right, that was Berto's greatest weapon in the second game. Depiction of the magic, which couldn't exist in a mystery. By showing me that, she forced me to think that this tale wasn't a mystery, and therefore that reasoning was impossible, so I surrendered. However, if I had believed unshakably that it was a mystery, it would have been completely obvious to doubt the witness who claimed to have seen magic. Also, at the end of the first game, it was revealed that this tale was passed on to people in the future by that message bottle. Someone had written about this crime, this tale. In other words, this entire tale is a world that includes the personal opinions of an observer, namely, the person who wrote that message in a bottle. In other words, the observer isn't God, it's a human. Therefore, there's no guarantee that this description is truly impartial. By the end of the first game, it was already clear that we've broken the constant premise of the mystery genre. The story itself must be seen through the eyes of God. For that reason, it's possible to doubt even the observer as well as the witnesses. If I could have doubted this much, then no matter how many seemingly unsolvable displays of magic appeared, I wouldn't have had to blindly accept them and give up. However, that begs a question. Is it even possible to solve a tale written by an observer who isn't impartial? Yeah. If I get obsessed with this, all my reasoning will end here. However, I had to believe that Berto was trying to fight me through this tale. Because it's a fight, that means I've been given a chance of winning. By giving me that, doesn't that mean that reasoning is possible? This part is tough. Unless I believe that the cruel witch took on the risk of losing to try to have a fair fight with me, I can't get past this part. Just like Vigilia said, it's just like love. I can't believe that Berto is fighting me head on with everything she's got. I won't be able to reason any further than this. Sure, I'll acknowledge it. Unless we acknowledge that we love each other, we won't be able to get any further. When Vigilia ran out of patience with the two of us, shy and incapable as we were of acknowledging that out loud, she gave me that red truth instead. That was the red truth, saying Berto wanted me to solve the riddles of this game, so she created them to be solvable. What the hell? It's like saying, set of son in Class A says he likes you, like hearing a love confession via a friend. I really am pitiful. Reasoning is love. If we don't love each other, the reasoning won't start. In that case, how can we say we love each other? You think you can solve it? Just you try. You're incompetent, like hell you can solve it. Yeah, according to George Anarchy, people like that are called Sundora. Heh, that brutal witch is finally starting to look a bit cute. If I meet her again, I want to say something like, you're such a Sundora. If I meet her again, somewhere. He certainly has all of a sudden.
他の実会も教えてくれ。
Love for that.
純不動でいいぜ。
Give me number 5.
使えそうなやつを頼む。
Aw.
謹んで申し上げる。ノックス第8条、提示されない手がかりでの解決を禁ず。
謹んで申し上げる。ノックス第6条、探偵方法に偶然と第6巻の使用を禁ず。
Must not be solved with clues that aren't presented, and it must not be solved by relying on accidents or coincidence. This tale is meant to be solvable, or made to be solvable. We can read this the opposite way. In other words, clues must be prepared so that the case can be solved, and it has to be made in a way that can be solved without relying on coincidence. I can believe that Beato is challenging me to a fair fight, a fair game where reasoning is possible, and I can be sure of that. In other words, Beato has already left me clues, hints, and messages in this tale. It isn't from the Decalogue, but Erica or someone said this. There are 3 riddles to be exposed in the mystery. Oh, for who done it, why done it, how done it. One is the who done it, who is the culprit. One is the how done it. How did they commit the crime? One is for why done it. Why did they commit the crime? All of this means that clues related to these 3 riddles are already present inside this tale. No, strictly speaking, it's like this. Because she wanted me to solve these 3 riddles, Beato scattered hints about. Though whether I'm capable of catching those or not is another matter. Even if you think a riddle you propose is easy, it might be difficult for the person trying to solve it. In that case, it's only natural that there'll be a difference in how difficult each person finds it. Therefore, as Beato goes through each successive game, she watches me closely, and tweaks the game as needed to get a good arrangement. When Beato realised that I'd completely surrendered in the second game because it was too hard, she secretly worried. If I surrendered and lost the will to fight, the game would no longer remain on an even footing. Therefore, in order to make me regain my will to fight, from the third game onwards, she set things up in a way that made it easier for me, giving me tips on how to fight and a few hints. Virgilia and Renove obviously appeared so that they could help me. Also, though we still had the usual crazy magic shows, she gave me the metaphor of the brown tube trial, as well as tips on how to fight back. I finally understood how to fight, and most likely at the end of the 4th game, Beato managed to have the all-out showdown with me that she had probably wanted. Then, Beato acknowledged that my abilities had become full-fledged, and entrusted me with her heart. Trusted me with explaining this tale, didn't she? In that case, it was really dumb of me to boycott most of the 5th game, just because I was so disgusted with those 2 witches. Doesn't matter who the game master is. All I need is to search for the truth in Beato's game. On the contrary, I should probably thank those 2 witches just a little for continuing the game in Beato's place now that she's gone and left everything to me. Of course, I doubt those evil witches were trying to do anything of the sort. Culprit, crime, motive. The answers to those 3 ultimate riddles, the hints, must be scattered throughout the previously shown tales. Probably a very faint light, like trying to find beads that have fallen onto a sandy beach. They're definitely there, although they're so faint that unless I believe strongly, there's no way I'll be able to find them.
金家、謹んで申し上げる。
なんだ。
物語を遡りたまえ。今の汝には真実のか弱き光を見逃さぬ目が与えられていると知れ。
今こそ物語を。
推理可能とは信頼関係の先にあるものと知りたてまつれ。
ああ、知ってるぜ。いや、今ようやく気づいたかもしれない。
It's something that's been repeated over and over again throughout the tale. Persistently so.
愛がなければ
It cannot
真
be
実
seen.
は見えない。
Slowly, the tea room dissolved into darkness. But does that mean that the motive is love, somehow? Then, as though I was slowly sinking into a pitch-black sea, I passed through the crevice of the long journey I'd taken with Beato, and kept on falling and falling. It was a bizarre experience, like crossing over the boundary of sleep while still conscious. The several tales before became faint bubbles. No, they were small shining fragments, and were scattered like stars amidst a pitch-black sky. I kept sinking on and on into that sea. The tales up until now, one after another, Virgilius guided Dante to Mount Purgatory and brought him to the feet of the eternal lady who waited at the top, Beatrice. Therefore, the innermost depths lay not at the bottom, but at the peak of Mount Purgatory. The eternal lady had been waiting there for Dante the whole time. And then you. Is that telling us that all the clues have now been presented? That had caught me off guard a bit, I'll admit. I finally reached the truth. The depths, no. The peak of Mount Purgatory. Idiot. You really are an idiot. He waked from the sleep of death, and bit by bit, his sense of pain came back to him. On Battler's face, which still looked up at the heavens as he hung there, pierced by the longsword, the suffering and alive expression gradually returned.
本当にバカだ。大バカだ。
Battler noticed. This whole time, Beato had been snuggling up against him, sleeping. When he held her, he knew it was not Beato, but her crumbling remains. When Battler just tried to hold that form, as fragile as ash, then, just like a sandcastle made on a beach, washed away by a small wave, it fell apart and lost its form. At Battler's feet lay nothing but the ragged remnants of Beato's dress and a pile of ash. No, on top of that pile of ash he could see something sparkling gold. It was the husk of a single gold butterfly which had been torn to bits. So, Battler knew. I've definitely reached for truth. However, I wasn't able to do it, while Beato still remained in this world. Or perhaps because he reached for truth is why Beato was not able to survive. Beato?
ベアト、お前本当に バカだろ。
And so, of the final 3 episodes, Battler trying to resurrect the witch instead of Kinzo.
俺はようやくこのふざけた謎の真相にたどり着いたんだぞ。お前のお望み通りにくじけずにとうとう最後までたどり着いたのに。なのにそれを待てずにくじけちまったんだよ。お前はあんなにも信じてたんだろう。俺が絶対に真実に至ってくれるって。ならどうしてそれを俺と一緒に信じて待てなかったんだよ。永遠の拷問を強いていたのはお前じゃない。俺だ。俺がお前に過酷な拷問を強いた。そしてお前は最後まで抗い俺に訴え続け、そして俺はようやく今になってたどり着いたってのに、お前はもう待ってなくて手遅れになっちまったって。バカ野郎、どうしてお前が先にくじけちまうんだよ。
And you have lost heart several times now. It's my fault. I forced her to endure this torture. In fact, she's been doing a wonderful job sticking through it for so long. Over and over again, and over again. You kept on protesting to me. And because I was so incompetent, it was as though I couldn't understand the truth.
バカ野郎、バカ。お前の謎はさ、ひねりすぎなんだよ。どうしてもっと簡単に言えねえんだよ。バカ野郎。
His scream of pain filled the sad cathedral. The sad witch who wasn't able to communicate the truth to Battler. The sad man who wasn't able to understand the witch's truth. Battler's howl of anger and sadness rang out of that pair. The clock hung in the cathedral showed that it was midnight on October 5th, 1986. Time was up for everything. You're kidding me. Don't set something like a time limit on this difficult riddle you're so proud of.
いや、わかるぜ。それほどのわずかな奇跡の中にお前は祈ったんだよな。お前もじいさまと同じだったんだ。
You prayed for and bet on the power of a miracle. One so unlikely that it was totally impossible, less likely than finding a bead you've dropped on a sandy beach. That means I've now truly arrived at that miracle. However, your time didn't last long enough. If I had reached this point even a little sooner, I could have seen the truth. Even if it had been right before time was up, I might have been able to save you. Right now, I've been run through pathetically. I can't even hold what remains of you. I attempted to pull the longsword out. I tried stretching out my arms and kicking my feet, struggling to at least touch her remains, but nothing worked. Blue truth. At that time, I noticed a golden glint on the palm of my hand. It was a single wing from a gold butterfly. That small fragment of gold was the only piece of Beato that I was permitted to touch. I tried with all my strength, gripped that fragment and pressed it against my head, apologizing. Why couldn't I reach the truth earlier? Then I pressed it to my chest. promising that even now I would never lose the truth. When I pressed my hand against my chest, the sword piercing my chest cut my wrist and blood dribbled out. That blood spread throughout my fist and must have soaked that gold fragment with my red blood. It must have been the only way of telling her that I'd found the truth she'd wanted me to know about. I clutched the wing of the gold butterfly with my freshly bleeding hand and pressed it against the red sword that pierced me. At this point, Yushiro Bachelor knows. And he understands. He's found this tale's everything. At that time, it seemed as though the faint golden lights leaked out of the gaps in his clenched fist.